We are keeping things casual and conversational. I would like to invite anybody who is in the back or particularly behind the columns, if you would like to see better, please there are more seats all up here. Feel free to join us. Feel free to take space today.
We promise not to bite.
Yeah. We don't bite. We want you to be a part of this, and we also it's just we want to have that connection. So thank you very much, Paurvi Bhatt and Mauricio Montes de Oca, for joining us today, talking about seeing the unseen, a conversation about the invisibility of caregivers, a topic I think we can all relate to very well. Their bios are in the WOVA app, but I would love to start with just asking you to talk about yourself, introduce yourself, and about a little bit about the work you do.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Paurvi Bhatt. I'm a second-generation Indian American, raised by first-generation Indian immigrants who came in the early 60s. I also happen to be the president of the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers. And the buttons that you see and the things that are on the table are on behalf of Mrs. Carter and her visionary leadership. She saw almost 40 years ago that we would be in this room on one of the most important issues of our time. I'm also a proud board member of Caring Bridge. So if you've had the opportunity to tell your story there, it's important. The first thing I'm going to say, and it's the first time I recognized this, was last night when I was here for one of the JAX events, is I was raised by a caregiver, a male caregiver. And so there's something about just the generational things that we all go through that are really important. And so I just wanted to lift that up as well. And we'll have more time together, I'm sure.
Great.
Oh, and my dog Omi is right there, making sure that we're all okay. So you'll see him sitting with Kyle.
Kyle over there. Lovely. Thank you, Paurvi. Mauricio, would you talk a little bit about the work that you do?
So good morning, everybody. My name is Mauricio Montes de Oca. Thank you for being here today. And so I actually have a consulting firm. I work with organizations to help them with cultural adaptability in spaces of health equity and language access. So I help organizations to make sure that they see the unseen as well. And it is my pleasure being here today. I've been part of this group for a few months now, and I'm very excited about what it is in store for us. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Paurvi, starting with you, would you talk a bit about your experience with caregiving?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I'm a second-generation immigrant and an only child. And let me start with the fact that we're all in some phase of caregiving, which is something I'm also learning. So I am technically, I'm a former caregiver and a current griever, and I will need a caregiver. And Mrs. Carter had an incredible quote that said, "We're all in some form of caregiving. Either we are one now, or we'll need one later. We're preparing for it." I had no idea that I was a caregiver throughout basically my life. My mom had a cervical cancer when I was 3. My father was in his 30s, an early engineer for GE. And it began then with him taking care of her and me. Fast forward to when he was 58, we were here in the Twin Cities. I was 28 and he had early onset dementia. And so I needed to quickly, without realizing what I was doing, start to adjust into that. Because of my mom's cervical cancer, I was an only child. And in my culture and tradition, a girl child meant a lot of things when it was time to consider adulthood and marriage and all the rest. You know, your in-laws become even more important. And because of both of my parents' illnesses, I couldn't go through that Sophie's Choice decision of leaving them to go to someone else's family. So I chose to stay single and focus on my parents. I'm now 58, so that 58 year is very poignant for me, given what happened with my father. He passed away at 75. My mom passed away 2 years ago of her 5th cancer. All along was continuing with my career. I'm an executive in healthcare, so I actually know healthcare. But I will say that for every decision I made during the day job, I could have done better if I had connected what I was doing during the evenings with my parents. I didn't. And so I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning is about the courage of putting the compartments away and bringing it all together and really thinking through what can we do differently. I wish I had done more. I'm trying to do as much as I can now. I'll end on this, that, at the end of the day, many of us end up taking care of our parents at home. our families at home or in facility if we need to. My father eventually had to go into memory care, which is very difficult, I think, for all of us to make that decision. But at the end of the day, and why I'm here, and why I'm here even in our clothing, and today is my new year. I'd chosen to come here. Diwali is a time for Hindus to appreciate that the light will come, and the light is coming. But that said, culture is something that we all experience. If you go into anyone's home, by very definition, you've entered somebody else's culture. And so how do we think about bringing this together so that we can thrive at a time when getting healthy requires that we think about the cultural aspects of that? So that's a bit about me.
Thank you very much, Paurvi, and then happy Diwali. And,
Happy Diwali.
And thank you for spending your holiday with all of us here today.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and Mauricio, would you talk a little bit about your experience with caregiving? And Paurvi touched on this, how it also impacted the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I've had two experiences with caregiving, and the first time was my grandmother, who was basically like my second mother. I grew up in Mexico. My mom was a single mom, and so my grandmother took care of me quite a bit. When they say that single children are spoiled, I would say my mom not so much, but my grandmother definitely spoiled the heck out of me. And it was really difficult for me because at that point I had already moved to the United States, so I would have to travel back. I did have the privilege that I could go back and forth. But having to travel often, once I found out that she was sick, my grandmother was extremely active. She loved going to the gym, she would love to go with her friends and do her own thing. And when she started getting sick, I noticed that there was a huge decline because she had cancer. And there were some tests that needed to get done, but they were not accessible at the time, so we couldn't find specifics on what specific cancer. But I can tell you that it went fast, and one of the most difficult things for me was that I had to come back because I didn't want to lose my job here, and then I had the opportunity to fly back before she passed, and she was waiting for me. My family said she hasn't spoken in about a week. When I arrived, she spoke to me quite a bit. And then a couple days later, she passed. So it's actually difficult for me to talk about this because I don't often, which is why we're here. I don't often talk about this because I don't think I was the one that's suffering. It was her who was suffering, which I'm sure a lot of you who are caregivers can relate. And then I had a second experience where I cared for my mother, married man here in Minnesota, which is how we ended up here. And he had diabetes and he started slowly decaying, and I became his caregiver because actually they got divorced, but I stuck around because we developed a good friendship, and his whole family, he basically pushed everybody away. And so I became his main caregiver and the only individual he would listen to. So you got this 6'4" Harley rider that could not receive feedback from anybody, but I took his shit and I gave him shit back. And so therefore he listened to me. And it was very difficult to see somebody who I cared for and loved, who was killing himself slowly. And no matter how much I tried to help, he would only listen to certain things. Luckily, going to the doctor and taking care of his amputated leg, because it started with a toe, then it went to a foot, then it went to a leg. And I saw the whole thing coming from the beginning, and it was quite difficult for me to watch because I knew where it was all going. And just to give you some background, I've spent over 25 years in healthcare, providing language access and working with providers on understanding where different communities come from and how do we provide better care and how do we create spaces for those who are caregivers as well, who come from different backgrounds.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You mentioned something that struck a chord with me as we talk about the unseen, about what are the things that I'm not even seeing in myself that I have to work through and try to figure out. We'll get to that, hopefully. Paurvi, you mentioned, you talked about the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers, and their current theme is seeing the unseen. What does that mean in relationship to caregiving?
Well, I think we see it here. We are seen. I mean, it's amazing to see this room of all of us together. one of the main things that I think we probably all can appreciate, I certainly did, is that oftentimes if you're taking care of someone, you just feel it's what family does, it's what a neighbor does, it's what a friend does, and you don't really integrate it into what your own experience is. And Mrs. Carter actually found me. I didn't realize how, but she had seen through her team some things that I was saying and doing on Twitter, of all places. And when I had the opportunity to meet her briefly, she actually said, I bet your mom did this. And I didn't understand what she meant. And she said, I bet your dad did this. I bet your grandmother did this. And before he knew it, I started to see that there was a pattern of just taking care of each other. And now in the modernized world, we're involved in so many things that it gets very buried because it isn't the only thing that we're doing. And so seeing the unseen for us is very much what Mrs. Carter lifted up, and beyond her, I would say my own mother did, whether it was making sure some food ended up at someone's home because something was going on. What we're learning now is even the written word. So you'll see some cards in the back. Mrs. Carter had a really incredible way of making sure that if she sensed that something was going on, she found me somehow, she would send a note. And it was a handwritten note. And so we're just moving forward to make sure that we do that more and more, because sometimes the best way to be seen is quietly, because it is this emotional. I'm exactly having it's a bit hard to reflect on all of this all of a sudden this morning. And but it helps so much when someone sees. We've created these buttons for the same reason, because all of a sudden there's a conversation and we can be found. So some of it is you can't find community unless someone can find you. And that's a big part of why being unseen is incredibly important as well. So that's why seeing the unseen. I'll end on this. Again, the cultural part of it is so different. What someone might do from Germany or Norway or Asia or Africa is so remarkably different. And being able to see it and then celebrate it together, even hearing Diwali today, it helps, right? It helps us know that we're being seen. So that's why.
Thank you for mentioning, that cultural connection. I want to bring it to the audience a little bit here. First of all, who here has felt either unseen or unheard in some aspect of their caregiving life? Most people. Would anybody be willing to share a way they felt unseen or unheard? I won't make you speak if you don't want to, but if there's something that comes up, I'll start with myself. That I sometimes being a male, I can already feel that coming up, and that's fine. Thank you. But being a spousal caregiver at 40 years old, and none of my other friends are in that boat, and you try to explain that, and there's sympathy, there's a lot of love, but there is that, oh, you don't get it. And personal plug, I love that seeing the unseen became this topic. As I mentioned, I'm a singer and actor, and this past April I wrote a piece for a fundraiser for my wife for a procedure titled The Unseen Divide is what I called it. And it was about my experience caregiving. If you want to see it, it's on YouTube. Look up my name and it's up there. But that was at the time, even before this was on the horizon for me, was a seeing the stark contrast of like how separated we are, even if we look like normal everyday people. Yeah. Anybody out here have thoughts they want to share? Yes, someone out here?
Yeah, so my name is Tony. I'm from Rochester, and I was caregiver for my brother who was developmentally disabled. And one of the things that I learned is that I knew him, and I knew what his body was saying, and it was hard for me to get that message across to his healthcare team. And there was one time where I'm like, you got to do blood work. You got to do this. Because I could just see what was happening. And sure enough, they just ignored everything. I think sometimes they just put the caregiver up. But sure enough, They called back, they had done blood work, and he was septic. And he ended up being admitted into an ICU. So I think as caregivers, we need to be heard because we know that person that we're caring for, and we've got to speak up.
Amen. Anyone else want to share? Yep, go ahead, please. Applaud. This is formally informal. So anybody else have something they want to share right now? We'll have more thought. Yeah, someone over there. Yes.
Hi there, I'm Sharon. I'm from Wisconsin. I can totally relate to what you said about being on the younger side and being a caretaker for a spouse. And the first time I felt heard, and I don't mean to plug Allison and Sean, but was on a podcast and in that first group where somebody could relate to a spouse and in that way, and about being unseen, yes, in medical, in insurance, Social Security, Medicare, and employer. My husband was snatched like he was working one day, a week later, disabled with brain tumors. And so unseen because what? You can't speak for him, like those types of things. So yeah, the list goes on and on. But the feeling of being seen, which might come up, was amazing. So, but being younger, being a caretaker, you talk with your friends, none of them get it. So you hit it right in the head.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah. You talked about the cultural side of things, and I want to get to that in just a minute. What are there some other ways that for you have felt unseen, or how that applies to your personal experiences, either?
Well, in my case, I can think of one particular thing. Within my family, there was a lot of disagreement of what we should share with my grandmother at the time when she was very ill. But I grew up with her, and she used to have a saying that she would tell me all the time. She loved dancing, and she told me, grandson, if I get to the point where I can't, and way before she got sick, if I ever get to the point where I can't do things on my own, just let me go. And what I've danced in this world, nobody's gonna be able to take that away from me. All those instances I've had, so it's okay. I've lived my life. And so I knew this. It was in the back of my head. I always knew this. And when the news were that she was not going to get better, she was just in palliative care, and we were just given morphine slowly just so she wouldn't be under a lot of pain because it was extremely painful, which also was very hard to find that balance on keeping somebody awake enough but also not suffering. And I was pretty young, so. But I was so close to my grandmother that I wouldn't leave her bedside. And what was really tough is that when she asked me one day, when she finally woke up, she said, so will I be able to go out on my own and do the things that I love to do? And I said, no, Grandma, but I can go with you and we can do it together. And so I could tell that immediately. She said, that's it. I think this is going to be it for me. And so a lot of my family blamed my mother and I because we both took that decision. And it was really tough because they felt like we should have never told her because she would have lived longer. But I knew better because I knew her. So I felt unseen by even my own family because I knew that it was the best for her. And even though my family was not on the same page, I felt like I don't regret that. I think I would regret it if I wouldn't have done it exactly how we did it. So
it sounds like culture and family are huge aspects that can either help or hinder our progress, and also being unseen and being supported too. Something that, as you go back to the cultural aspect, so despite my accent, I was born and raised in the Midwest, and in the Chicago area, but still understanding a lot of the values and the sentiments and the approaches to conversation and conflict that Midwesterners feel. And I also understand there is I don't want to give you my burdens. I don't want to put my problems on you. However, Does anyone else feel like that has gotten in the way of maybe getting some help, getting some recognition? Anybody else feel that way? Just of that aspect of our Midwestern culture being one of those barriers to that. And you started touching on that too. What are some of the other ways that culture can influence this being unseen?
Well, I can relate so much to what you were saying. I was a caregiver my entire adult life, so from 28 to 58. So think about what we all do in those years, right? And choosing things around career, family, friends. So not being seen by friends, really in understanding the trade-offs happening. And I didn't really, because I was also raised in the Midwest, born in Chicago as well, and all of the things, just didn't really reflect or mention it. If anyone was working on my team at work, they knew, because I'd have to quickly figure out if I was traveling overseas or something, what was going to happen. The cultural part, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a daughter. All of us, every culture has something about daughters, but I will say the South Asian culture disproportionately has a lot of things about daughters. And so this decision not to marry turned into something that was quite intense. And the decision to be a global leader. I was doing a lot of work in global spaces, so I was unseen because people thought I was just having fun, traveling and doing the things. And I was a part of the AIDS movement, so I was not just having fun. My own mother thought I was just having fun, right? And so it was hard for people to fully appreciate, including my family, that what was happening quietly was taking care of both my parents. They didn't, this I think is really important to say about early and newer immigrant families. If you're a first generation that's here, as my parents were, they didn't see their parents get old every day. They weren't there for every illness. And so they themselves didn't fully appreciate what aging is going to mean for them in a culture that isn't their original culture, in a language that isn't their original language. And I was born and raised here, but I also didn't see them do it. So it's going to take a while before we can kind of get in the rhythm of understanding what to do. And so here we are in a situation where no one knew what to do. Even, and I'll end on this, the decision to put my dad in memory care, because again, dementia was not at all recognized in our culture, and certainly because again, they were separated from their family. We didn't see it, and in our own family. I realized when I was overseas and there were a lot of chaotic things happening at home that at the end of the day, my mom couldn't make that decision. It would have to be me. She made a vow. There was no way that she would separate from him and not take care of him, even though she's the one with the cancer. And it required me coming home. And so I feel the pain that you had to go through. I still go through it now, to come home and make the decision to separate them and make sure that he got that care. I'll end in, and I hope we do have time and that you all have time over the course of the day to talk about anticipatory grief. I'm already feeling it for my dog, believe it or not, right? That this time of something is coming actually affects what you do with your friends, with your family, and your friends don't even realize that that's a part of it. One of my friends called me recently after he lost his mom, and now, I've lost both my parents, and I'm singular entirely, right? No siblings, no partner, no kids, no parents. And he called crying because of what you feel when your parents are gone or someone you love is gone. And it was a beautiful moment where he said, I had no idea. I am so sorry. This is what you've been going through. So even the recognition of that, finally I felt seen, right? Finally I felt seen. And now there's something like how we are in this room, that when you're on the other side of it or in community with people who might get it, you really can't go back to what it was like before because you finally have people that can get it. So I hope that's helpful.
That's very helpful. Thank you. You touched on how when you were traveling around, people, including your mother, thought you were just having fun. And that's a reality too. I know this one personally, and perhaps some of you can resonate too, of family not seeing you, but even sometimes the person you're caring for not seeing you. Anybody else feel that? Feel that? Yeah. You had a very, you talked about your grandmother, but you also were taking care of your stepfather, and that was a very compelling story. Does that also touch on it too about, your interaction with this person who, as you described, it was a bit combative towards being helped or accepting his reality?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, you have this 6'4" big guy who used to be the leader of his group, Harley rider. You know, he would criticize anybody who did Sturgis, putting their bike on the back of their truck. Like, you had to ride it over there. Like, what's the point? Otherwise, you're not a real Harley driver. And he never let anybody really speak up for him. So his way of showing love to me was he understood that I knew much more about healthcare than he did. So he would surrender, but it took a while for him to sit back and actually let me almost make decisions with him. But he didn't let anybody in. And so he became very, very isolated and alone. And, you know, there were times where I would start tearing up and want to give him a hug. And he would be like, "Oh, come on. You're fine. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't be showing so much emotion. We don't need to be crying here. We're men." And so that was really tough because I knew that deep inside, he was the biggest teddy bear and he was the sweetest person, but he just had this mask that he could not pull down. And so that made it very difficult to care for him. So I would try to make recommendations on his food choices, and he'd be like, "Don't worry about it. Just bring me the Culvers that I ask you for, and get yourself one or two, and we're gonna be fine." And so it was the pushback was really hard. It was until the end. I still have actually a voicemail that he left me where he said, "I have something. We'll talk about some news that I was given," which is when I think he finally realized that it was the end of the road for him. Yeah, it was really tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. The family dynamics, you bring up two amazing contrasts of it was only you, and you were the one who had to make all the choices. And it was you and your mother with family who had input or had opinions, but they weren't a part of that process. They didn't, I think you said, they didn't see the everyday. And I think that's a huge part of that too.
Yeah, just on that note, I mean, I remember it was my mom and I who would do around the clock, you know, making sure my grandmother wasn't in pain. And so, yeah, my family, the rest of my family, they were very supportive, and they were suffering too. I know that. And they were there during the day, and they would bring food, and they would provide company. But during the toughest parts, which I'm sure for those of you who are caregivers, which are the nights, that was just my mom and I. And yeah, you're right. And it's like, thank you for the input, but at the same time, you were not here last night, so you don't know how bad it is. And you also don't know the reality of what she's going through psychologically. So
If I can add to that, just to clarify, I was on my own biologically, but there was plenty of opinion with no help. So no one was lacking stepping in to say, "Why are you doing this?" Especially the decision to put him in memory care, which is so outside of culture, right? The decision to not at home, which only connected to, "Oh, because you want to have fun," right? You don't want this on you. And what else do you have to do? You don't have a husband, family, or children. So God has brought you to this. So why are you not? So there was so much of that. That continues today. It totally continues today, right? It's just opinions.
How do we all feel about that? Any, yeah, I see some fists raised. I want to grab my phone just so I can check time here. Anybody have excuse me, it's fine. It's a pen. Anybody have a story they want to share about that, or an opinion about that? Or anybody just want to swear and get it off their chest? Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Hey, Allison's coming over with a microphone for you.
I'm Paula, and I'm a caregiver for my husband. I guess my opinion is, or my comment is, to reference something that I heard on Allison's podcast. If you have 0% help in the caregiving, you have 0% weight in the opinion. So I thought that was really good.
I think that's great. It's great. Yep, more, please.
I'm Janelle, and I have a developmentally delayed son since he was little. And so talking about advocating for them, daycare, school, healthcare, Social Security, being a voice for him. And my husband always worked long hours, and he never understood. So even your spouse that lives there, but is not seeing the day-to-day things that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
It occurs to me that it's expected that you're a caregiver and that you don't complain, and that the person you're caregiving for has a lot of sympathy and you don't, and there's a lot of opinions on how you're doing this selfless act. And I think the end result is that you silo yourself in your home with the person that you're caregiving for, and you stop reaching out, because reaching out is a danger of taking on that anxiety of opinion.
The anxiety of someone else's opinion. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Patty, and I am a family caregiver, spousal caregiver, but I also was a hospice nurse for many years. And one of the things we would, the term we would use is albatross, because they would fly in, shit over everything, and then fly out.
We need Allison, we need a t-shirt. Don't be an albatross. Ask me more questions about that. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Please, this is meant to be a conversation. Yes, over here.
My name is Nicole. My husband was just diagnosed with a brain tumor in April, and we are having a lot of trouble with in-laws suggesting non-medically advised treatments, supplements or anything, and that is kind of that's a lot. There's a lot of anxiety that makes me feel like I should consider them, but it also feels like it's crazy, and there's a lot of outside opinions about non-medical advice too.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? This is my own personal opinion. When I have encountered some of those things, I feel it's the others who are watching what's happening and who don't want to suffer. They don't want to suffer watching us suffer, watching this person suffer. So what can they throw at it while keeping a huge distance so that they don't have to suffer anymore? Well, at least I gave you that. Well, at least I gave that, which was nothing. Many times, just nothing. Cultural aspects, family dynamics. Are there any other ways in which caregivers are unseen for either our panelists or for those out here? Yes. 1 second, we have a microphone coming to you. Thank you.
I was in the car yesterday with my daughter, and I said I was going to this conference today, and she said, well, my husband has stage 4 prostate cancer. And she said, well, why are you going to the conference? Is it because of his arthritis? And he's on a drug holiday, and he's maintaining right now. So her coping mechanism is to act as if it's done and over with, even though he never had chemo and the treatment hasn't actually killed any of the cancer cells. It's just dormant right now. And so her coping mechanism is, why would you need help? He's fine. And I was kind of shocked by her response of, why would you be going? Is it arthritis? And I'm torn between my need to have support and her need to protect herself from what could be coming down the pike.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Paurvi.
Yeah, I mean, I so resonate with some of this because I'm, like I mentioned, I'm the daughter of a caregiver first, right? So I can hear some of that I might have even done at some point when I was much younger, before I was in the seat, right? So, some of the cultural things, to your point about being seen and unseen, I'm just going to pull in the healthcare lane for a second, because why not? And we already decided to shit on all the people with opinions. Let's move on to the next circle. But as someone who comes from a different culture, I have to say, this space that we're in about caregiving, even that your comment earlier is, you can't face it without facing loss, right? And the joy of being together all at the same time. And with the health system, and what happens is right now they're counting on us to finish their job. So let's just say that out loud. And the they isn't like they're over there. And people want to come home. We advocate to come home, advocate to not be in the hospital. But the minute that happens, as we know, the minute the decision happens, we're ricocheted into being right there and the handoff, right? So that's one of the biggest places of not being seen, is the fact that that is an expectation of systemically. The other place is we have jobs. And so who's going to pay for that time that we need to be able to finish the job of the healthcare system? And it's our employer if we're lucky. You know, I learned to have my voice because I was an AARP volunteer and advocated for paid leave in this state when I could. But all of that to say, it's not some employer's job to pay for the last mile of healthcare. It's the health system's job to pay for the last mile of healthcare. So there's that as well, right? And then finally, the things that may be offered, especially for those that are older, and we have all sorts of insurance and other things that are out there. I'll say, as someone who comes from a different cultural background, you can offer me meals at home, but if there isn't a vegetarian one, how's my mom going to eat them? You can say that a healthcare worker is going to come by at some point, but my mom won't take her meds that require food until she's been bathed, which means if we needed to get some med in her at home by 7 a.m, that ain't happening because we don't have help at home. All of these interplays with the health system are deeply cultural. And that's not just because I come from another part of the world or a different faith. Whatever the rhythm of your life is at home requires that acknowledgement. So there's something about the entire system shifting and making sure that the groups that know us well, whether it's churches, community organizations, temples, whatever, get inside the pathway of this so that we can be helpful together. So I'm just saying that out loud because we're going to need to say stuff. There's no way around it. And coming from the Midwest is, we know how to say stuff. We know how to do stuff. It's just done differently. And so we've just got to do it differently and get out there. So I just want to take the lead on that and just say we've got to. This moment in time is requiring it. We're outnumbering. The people that need care are outnumbering those of us who can provide care. And I promise you I'll end on this. CDC, I'm a public health person, the CDC just released data to say that 13 out of the 19 statistics about healthcare are worse off if you happen to be a caregiver than if you're not, which means providing care in and of itself is an important thing that we've got to manage as people who work in healthcare. So that alone, we know this time, that breath exercise we went through is for our health, right?
Mauricio, you spoke about, when we spoke earlier, about some other statistics speaking about public health and the system of caregiving and who is giving care, even those who are giving care professionally too, and what their circumstances are and how they are also unseen.
Yeah, it's one of the statistics that I just shared was that 10,000 people in the United States turn 65 every day, and 70% of those required care. And caregiving in the healthcare industry is primarily done by people of color. And so how are we going to also create spaces where there is better? I like to think of myself as a bridge between cultures because I grew up half my life here in Minnesota and half my life, actually, no. I've actually spent more time in Minnesota now, but I don't want to tell you how old I am, so I'm not ready yet. I'll tell you about my grandmother, but I can't tell you about, no, I'm just kidding. But my point is, I like to be part of that solution on creating spaces where people can understand and see each other for who they are as human beings. And we do need to be better in the healthcare system as well and caring for those who are not English speaking, who are not from this culture. It's more than just language. And at the same time, we also need to provide opportunities for those who will be receiving the care, who are, let's say, native born here, to have more compassion to those who are caring for them, who look different to them, who don't necessarily fluently speak their language. But at the end of the day, they will be the ones doing the hardest things and the most difficult jobs that we have in regards to healthcare. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind, that as we continue to age, as a population, I mean, we are basically adding another generation. Yes, healthcare is also getting better, but it also means that we have more people aging. and we don't have the birth rate is not high enough to continue to caring for those who will become part of the population that will require the care.
Thank you. Something else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm just going to add one more thing because the person of color piece, I really obviously resonates as well as women of color. And we're finally invested in to do more at work and get better opportunities. And while there's a lot there for moms and dads and maternity leave and paternity leave, this issue around aging, the leak is happening later when we need to pull away from the workforce. And it's quiet, except it's gushing. And so the things that we need across all of it need to be in place, and especially if you're a daughter taking care, right, and a son. But either way, later in life, all of the things are just not set up for it, and we just need to do more there. So I thank you for raising that piece of it.
No, thank you. And I think it's important to remember that we don't have the infrastructure. Our healthcare system was not thinking about how do we care for all of these individuals that will require that kind of care. So that's why a lot of it falls on people like you, because the system is not set up to care for that many individuals at the same time. And you mentioned it a second ago that when the providers leave the room, you're the one that stays behind. You know, and I just wanted to go back to a difference in culture and experience. When my stepdad would get sick, every time I would have to bring him to a clinic or a hospital. We had the privilege in Mexico that, thanks to the fact that we had family support, we could financially bring a physician to the house. And the difference of having my mother in the house, my grandmother in the house, in her own bed, in her very comfortable space, having a physician come to her house, having them put a pump, a pain pump and everything at the house, which would be unheard of here in the United States, was just a significant difference on just how she felt seen and cared for. And I think that's also important to remember that it can be very humiliating for the patients to go into those settings. You know, they're very vulnerable, and they're like, my grandmother would never go out of the house without doing her hair. I mean, every morning she would get fully decked out. And I was like, where are we going? Nowhere. But what if somebody shows up to the house, you know, and I got to be ready? I said, oh, okay, I guess you're right. But the point is, now she could be at home comfortable and not have to do all of that extra work that she felt like she needed to do before she stepped out of the house. Even while she was sick, she still was like, fix my hair. I'm not going out like this. Okay, grandma.
My wife does the same thing. Even now, if she has a doctor's appointment, she will get dressed up. And I admire that, but I also just kind of scratch my head and go, you are putting energy into this, and I'm going to have to catch you. But okay, it's important to you. So, okay. All right.
Can I just say that my dad would do that just to keep it gender kind of balanced? Oh, yeah. Had to have, as if he was going to work, pocket protector. He was an engineer, belt on. Everything had to match, no matter, all the way till the day he died. So,
well, I was just going to say, it's very common in our communities as well to do that, because there is a balance of power as well that we don't talk a lot about in healthcare, between patients and caregivers and healthcare. And one of the ways that they can feel more confident is also making sure that they don't look like they didn't put some effort into getting and showing up to their appointments. So,
along with that, to my wife's credit, there were times, especially around pain management and access to pain medication, where we would document videos of bad times around the house, so we can go, this is what's happening. But sometimes she would dress up nice, but sometimes she would intentionally do her makeup in a way that highlighted the struggle and the suffering that she was going through, in order to convince the doctors that she is not lying.
wow.
We've been pretty good with that with our doctors, but I had to help her fight through many doctors to get there too.
Wow.
So you talk about the fact that our system is not set up in so many ways. Like for me personally, that the element of pain management, and after the opioid crisis, and how much things are being regulated and people are being turned away or being called pain seekers, and how that stigmatizing just wrecks everything. But also how oftentimes the hospital is a great place to go for treatment, but not a great place for recovery. And so, again, I was eager to get her out of there. So she can start recovering at home, but then also my load increased too.
Well, and for those of us who spent a lot of time in healthcare institutions, the first thing I would tell a person who is in the hospital is try to get out of there as soon as possible, because your likelihoods of catching something worse are very high just because of how the environment is set up. You know, and I was just thinking about the cultural differences. Getting dressed up and getting ready in a lot of cultures has been also thought of smelling good. So they will put on cologne. And now you're thinking a lot about how this is so bad for many individuals who are suffering from many conditions, as well as even the caregivers, and everybody's extremely sensitive. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of individuals who come from other cultures, they wear the cologne because they think it's being elegant. It's actually part of dressing up. And so it's a hard balance of telling them, okay, yes, thank you for taking the time to dress up for us here. And also, please do not wear cologne because it's not a space where you should be wearing, for example, or perfume. But it's a tough sell, and people don't understand the realities of that's a cultural difference as well. And they have to adapt also to the spaces, and we should be adapting to them in certain ways as well.
In certain ways, it goes both ways. And I just wanted to pick up on your point about discharge, right? Like how medically you want to get everyone home so that people are healthier in theory once they get home. But you also, especially for all of us, but also if you've got additional factors like English as a second language, food, the things you need at home, you've got to help the system slow its roll. So I know that advocating in the way that all of us do requires thinking ahead and planning for these things, which is hard because who wants to plan this far in advance for the unforeseen? But I was known as the daughter from DC with the shawl patrolling all the time in the hospital, and I didn't mind. Finally, I got a thick skin to handle it all, probably with all the opinions from my family. But all of that to say, you know, it's okay to slow down the discharge for a couple of days if you need to. It's okay to say, you know, I know that you can only discharge to safety. It's not safe yet. Do you know, social workers helping us, all the things that we need? If not, here's what I need you to look for. Like start tasking the system that's supposed to be helping. They wouldn't know if we didn't redirect. But in the meanwhile, buy some time. And it's back to the cultural things of people stepping in to help. It's not always easy to assume that the auntie, blood or otherwise, is ready to step in and help. And that's going to take time too, to get everybody organized. Even though I am so deeply involved with something like Caring Bridge, any of these online platforms, most of my community, our South Asian community, would not opt in. It took a big lift to get everybody onto that because, and it took my mom finally saying, hey, you guys, it's just her. She's not going to answer every phone call. She doesn't need, 20 puris and biryanis on the doorstep. She needs this managed. Get comfortable with disclosing it. And that all of those systems, it's going to take time. So we have to meet the system as well and help everybody understand that translation.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, we have to remember that the healthcare industry, for those of us who have worked in it, it's a whole different culture. So without removing the different countries or different language, just for individuals who are not familiar with the healthcare industry, you're speaking a different language. And I think there's a lot of assuming that goes on because providers have many patients to see, they have many things to do, and they're on the go. And so they will make assumptions about you understanding certain things, and you need to be able to say, hold on, I have no idea what you just said. When you said graft versus host disease, but what do you mean? What is that? I have no idea what that means. So let's slow down. Let's go back. And if they've already explained it to you, the reality is that a lot of times we're in shock. We're thinking about, did I leave the stove on? Did I get the medications? Have I forgotten this? So you're not even listening to what is actually being said in the room, which is also ideal. The reason why it would be ideal to have at least 2 people in there and not just yourself if you're caring for someone. But my point there is that it's so important to tell them to slow down and repeat it and ask them to repeat it again and again. And you know what? If you didn't get it, it's not on you. It's that they didn't do they didn't do their job properly at explaining it to you. So don't feel bad asking for explanations, even if it seems simple. It may be simple to them, but it's not necessarily simple to you considering everything that is going on in your home and in your brain and with your family. So
Thank you. I'm going to start wrapping things up here, and I want to leave a moment for questions if they come up here. But everyone here is taxed, and we have no more energy to give. That said, what are some simple things we can do to start asking for more visibility in the system? How can we start to approach that in simple ways?
Well, I remain blessed with friends. I think we all have, whether we acknowledge it or not, there's at least one or two people that are riding alongside us quietly. What helped me a lot was bringing them with me in one way or another. They quickly became my in case of emergency for a different reason number in my phone. I started to bring other people in and helped my mom and my dad recognize that these are the ones if it's not me. Some of that's a survival tactic for an only child. And I just have to say as an aside, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I don't think anyone else is going to take care of me the way that I took care of them, fill in the them with anything else, right? So it behooves us to be visible right now because they can't unless we are visible in terms of what's needed, because we got to keep making, because I'm terrified. Who's going to take care of me this way? Nobody. So we've got to stay visible for that. And that's why I had these ride-alongs, these folks that would stay with me somehow.
That's great. Thank you. Mauricio?
I would say the vulnerability piece of actually saying, I don't have the tools, I don't have the energy to do exactly what you're asking me to do, and I need help. And there's got to be additional resources. And if there are not, then how can we start creating spaces where there are more resources for me, because I can't handle this on my own. And I think if you're not vulnerable enough, they need to go do their next thing and take care of their next patient. And if you're not actually saying it out loud and being vulnerable, then they just assume that you're fine, because that's also the most comfortable thing for them, because they also don't want to carry the burden. Because that's another thing for those who work in healthcare, you do carry a huge burden because you're seeing a lot of suffering, and it humbles you as well. But at the same time, you can only take so much, so you have to be very careful. And if the individuals are not voicing their opinions and being vulnerable, then you just move on to the next one because you think they're fine, and you go take care of the ones that, in this kind of, and the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Well, this applies here as well. So you need to make sure you tell them what you need.
Great, thank you. A few minutes for questions here. Anybody have questions? Yes, in the back.
It's my name is Julie, and it's not so much a question. I just want to acknowledge Caring Bridge. My husband suffered a spinal cord injury 3 years ago from a bicycling accident. I was with him, and so I witnessed the trauma. Caring Bridge was a safety net for us. It was a way for me to tell the story once and not have to repeat the trauma over and over again. And people from all walks of life that we didn't even know were praying for us showed us the gift of the mixed blessing that we were experiencing. So thank you so much for your work with Caring Bridge.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Got a few more minutes here. I don't see a hand, but I see Allison. Ah, there we go. Thank you.
There we go. Yep. My name is James. I have my wife has stage 4 breast cancer. But Cambridge is also a great thing. But one thing you mentioned was anticipatory grief. How have you two handled anticipatory grief?
Anticipatory grief. If you talk a little bit about anticipatory grief.
How do you handle it?
How do you
handle it?
Yeah, how do you handle it? I didn't even know the term until I had real grief. So that says a lot of it. For me, and none of this is professional for me, so I'll just say that out loud. So it's now that I'm on this side of some of it, like I said, I have it for my dog now too. So I'm realizing that having a lot of supportive care, focusing on yourself, is really important at a time. And all along, we've been saying this all along about we've got to find the time. It's really important because the things that we're doing, or that I was doing during the time I was taking care of my mom, which was the worst of it, was during the pandemic, where that isolation that our colleague over here was mentioning earlier was codified, right? People stayed away because they needed to stay away. And then you start to isolate more. I'm here and I don't do this as often as I once did because that stuck with me. So handling the anticipatory grief one is seeing it, that you see what's keeping you kind of anxious, is that you're so scared of what, one, that you might do something that would make loss happen faster, and that you might be judged for it. That was me. And that loss is a part of this. And having, of course, professional help helped greatly. Friends helped greatly. Recognizing that you've already handled this before, whether you believe it or not. And honestly, for me, it was in finding the joy, not only the pain, in the time that's remaining, helped me now in a way that was necessary. And the final thing was, all along, even though I didn't know it was called anticipatory grief, I kept asking myself since I was 28, what would I regret more? The answer to that, because there will be regrets, the answer to that helped me make the right decision all along. And I can only imagine my grief would be even deeper now if I didn't ask that question all the way through. I think these are really, I'm glad it's here. I hope you all have more of these conversations. And I'm sure that there's more professional answers to that, but that was mine.
Great, thank you. We are at the end of our time, so if you have more questions, please find Paurvi or Mauricio and ask them. But please join me in giving them a hand. Thank you very much for coming out today.